2 weeks ago, something went down that I can't stop thinking about. I, 29F, recently married my incredible husband, 30M. He's the love of my life and the first guy I've ever really trusted after a terrible experience with my ex, but I'll get into that later. First, let me just say this. My husband's sister, 34F, has never liked me. I have no idea why, but from the very beginning, she's had this attitude with me. She's the queen of backhanded compliments, always saying stuff like, "You look pretty good for someone who didn't grow up rich," or that I should be thankful I'm smart because my looks wouldn't get me far. Yeah, she's never been a fan of mine. She's also always stirring the pot, gossiping about me to other family members or making little jabs at me whenever she can. My husband has always had my back, but after a while, I just stopped reacting to her nonsense. I didn't want to cause more tension between them because I felt like his relationship with his family shouldn't have to suffer because of me. Her comments didn't really upset me. I was more shocked by how bold she was. Plus, I was confident in my relationship with my husband, so her digs never made me doubt him. But no matter how much I tried to ignore her, things got even worse after my husband and I got engaged. I thought maybe if I included her in the wedding planning, she'd see that I'm a decent person and maybe start treating me better. Big mistake. She was a nightmare during the planning, criticizing my choices, questioning everything, and throwing fits when she didn't get her way. When I chose my best friend as my maid of honor, she freaked out, saying I was leaving out family. It got so bad that I finally told her to step back until the wedding day. My husband was totally on my side, but even he was shocked by how far she was taking things. I thought her meddling would finally stop, but I should have known better. On our wedding day, she showed up late, which honestly didn't surprise me at all. In a way, I was kind of relieved because I knew the second she walked in, she'd bring drama with her. At least I got to enjoy some peace and fun before everything went downhill. And, well, my instincts were spot on. She decided to bring my high school ex as her +1. To give you some context, this guy was my first boyfriend, and he was seriously abusive behind closed doors. The only reason we broke up was because I caught him cheating. When I confronted him, he humiliated me in public and made me feel worthless. Took me years to rebuild my confidence after that mess. I've only been with one person since him, and that's my husband, who's the complete opposite. Kind, loyal, and supportive. So, seeing my ex at my wedding felt like a punch to the stomach. I managed to pull my sister-in-law aside during the reception and asked her what on earth she was thinking bringing my ex to my wedding. She just brushed it off like it was no big deal and smugly told me I should be over it by now. It was obvious she brought him just to mess with me. My husband was ready to kick both of them out right then and there, but I stopped him. I didn't want to turn our wedding into even more of a circus. I tried to push it aside and focus on enjoying the day, even though I was furious inside. But karma had other plans. About an hour into the reception, her long-term boyfriend showed up. My husband had invited him as a surprise for her, since they'd been in a long-distance relationship for the past 2 years because of his job. We had no idea their relationship was basically hanging by a thread, and for good reason. When he walked in and saw her with my ex, he completely lost it. He grabbed the microphone, got everyone's attention, and decided to expose her for the awful person she was. Right there in front of everyone. He told everyone that she had been cheating on him for months. He said he'd noticed her acting distant lately, so he checked her social media accounts and found out she'd been messaging several guys, including my ex. He called her a liar and a manipulator, saying she and my ex were perfect for each other. The room went completely silent. My sister-in-law started crying and trying to explain, but her boyfriend wasn't listening. He literally dropped the mic and stormed out. To make things worse, my ex jumped in and loudly claimed he had no idea my sister-in-law was even in a relationship. Everyone at the wedding started whispering and staring at her, and she was totally humiliated. My husband and I had had enough, so we asked the venue staff to escort her and my ex out. The rest of the night was awkward, but we tried to make the best of it and still had a decent time. Of course, everyone couldn't stop talking about the drama. It was like something out of a soap opera. Since then, my sister-in-law has been blowing up my phone, begging me to help clear her name or at least let her explain herself. She says she didn't know her boyfriend was coming and even thinks I set her up by inviting him. She keeps saying she never meant to ruin my wedding and that I'm overreacting by ignoring her. I'm still really mad at her, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little bad. She was humiliated in front of everyone, and even though she brought it on herself, it was still hard to watch. That said, she brought my ex to my wedding out of pure spite. She knew how much he hurt me and didn't care. Now, some family members think I should talk to her and hear her side, but I'm not sure. I feel like I have every right to be upset and not help her after what she did. Update 1. Wow! I didn't expect my post to get so much attention. Thanks for all the comments, advice, and support. A lot has happened since my original post, so here's an update to answer some of the questions you've been asking. 1. Did your husband do anything about his sister after the wedding? Yes, he did. My husband is completely done with her. He told her she's not welcome in our lives unless she takes real responsibility for what she did and gives a genuine apology. Not just to me, but to everyone she dragged into this mess. She tried to turn it around, saying I was the one being unreasonable, and even accused me of stealing her brother. Seriously, what does that even mean? She also claimed that if I hadn't mentioned my ex-boyfriend in front of her, she wouldn't have known about him. My husband and I were both stunned by how bold she was being. He told her he's done with her drama, and as far as he's concerned, their relationship is over until she gets her act together. 2. What about her parents? Why haven't they stepped in? Asterisk asterisk. Oh, they've stepped in, just not in the way she wanted. After hearing what she did, my husband's parents are furious with her. They told her she embarrassed the whole family and have temporarily cut her off financially. Apparently, she's been relying on them for money for years because she's never bothered to hold down a stable job. Now, she's couch surfing with friends because they won't let her move back home. Unsurprisingly, she's freaking out. She's been blowing up our phones with texts and voicemails about how we've ruined her life, but we're mostly ignoring her. 3. Why didn't you and your husband kick her out earlier? Believe me, I wanted to, but I didn't want to add more drama to the wedding than she'd already caused. A lot of the guests, especially people on my side, knew who my ex was and how he treated me. My sister-in-law was already getting side-eye for bringing him. In fact, my maid of honor, my best friend, even asked if I wanted her to kick my sister-in-law and my ex out, but I said no. I knew people were already talking about my ex being there, and I didn't want to make things worse by having a big scene. A lot of people asked me how my husband was okay with the fact that the only other guy I'd ever dated was at our wedding. Honestly, he wasn't comfortable with it at all. He couldn't stand the idea of my jerk ex being there, but he thought the same way I did. We didn't want to stir up more drama, so he kept quiet. Looking back, I'm glad we didn't make a big deal out of it because, in the end, karma took care of things for us. Now, here's the update. A few days after the wedding, my husband got a message from his sister's boyfriend. He apologized for causing a scene at the wedding and said he felt awful about how things played out. But he explained that he couldn't just sit back and do nothing after seeing her with my ex. My husband told him we didn't hold it against him. If anything, we were thankful he called her out and showed her true colors. During that conversation, her boyfriend dropped some major bombshells about her. He said he'd been suspicious for months because she'd been acting distant. They'd been in a long-distance relationship for 2 years, but over the last 4 months, her behavior completely changed. She stopped answering his calls regularly, got weird about making plans, and always had excuses whenever he suggested visiting her. That's when he decided to dig deeper. He managed to get into her social media accounts and found out she wasn't just messaging my ex. She was talking to multiple guys. It's unclear if she was actually dating all of them, but she was definitely flirting and keeping things from him. Turns out, she had reconnected with my ex over a year ago and had been secretly seeing him ever since. I don't think she wanted anyone to know they were together when she brought him to our wedding. She just wanted to make me uncomfortable and ruin my day. But her boyfriend showed up and completely exposed her for who she really is. And here's where it gets even messier. Her boyfriend found out she'd been using his money to fund her lifestyle. She lied to him, saying she needed financial help for bills and expenses. But instead, she was spending it on herself, and even using it to go on dates with other guys. Now, he's taking legal action to try to get some of that money back. He's talked to a lawyer and is putting together a case against her. I don't know all the details, but it sounds like she's in serious trouble. As for my ex, he's been creeping around on social media and even tried to reach out to me. I blocked him right away, but it's still unsettling knowing he's out there trying to cause drama. My sister-in-law's boyfriend also told us that my ex contacted him. My ex claimed he had no idea she was already in a relationship and said she was the one who made the first move. He said he felt blindsided by the whole situation. Honestly, I don't care if that's true or not. He's not my problem anymore. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law has completely lost it. She's been blowing up my phone, texting and calling non-stop, begging me to help clear her name. She's even accusing us of setting her up by inviting her boyfriend to the wedding, which is absurd. My husband invited him as a surprise because he thought they were in a happy, committed relationship. He just wanted to do something nice for her because he knew she'd throw a fit later about feeling lonely at the wedding. Honestly, the only reason he invited her boyfriend was so we could have a peaceful wedding and enjoy ourselves without her complaining the whole time. She's been telling all sorts of wild stories to our mutual friends, saying I tried to ruin her life and that everyone's making a big deal out of what she did. But her family isn't buying it. They're just as tired of her behavior as I am. My mother-in-law told us that my sister-in-law recently caused a scene at a family event by starting an argument with their youngest sibling. She accused them of siding against her and even tried to get them to convince my husband to forgive her. When that didn't work, she left in a huff and hasn't spoken to them since. This isn't the first time she's caused problems with her family, either. A few months ago, she borrowed money from her parents, saying it was for car repairs, but they later found out she used it for a fancy spa day. She also had a big fight with a cousin after spreading rumors about their relationship. It's like she lives for drama, and honestly, I'm done with it. I'm glad all the chaos she's created is finally catching up to her. She's getting a taste of her own medicine. As for where things stand now, my husband and I are focusing on our marriage and moving on. His sister isn't part of our lives anymore, and we're okay with that. Her ex-boyfriend has been really decent through all of this, and we wish him the best. I'm still upset about what she did, but I also feel a sense of relief knowing she can't hurt us anymore. Do I feel bad for her? Not really. She brought this on herself, and it's not my job to clean up her mess. That said, I do sometimes wonder if I should hear her out, just to get some closure about why she brought my ex to the wedding. But for now, I'm sticking with blocking her and focusing on the people who actually bring good things into my life. Thanks again for all your support. It's helped me feel less alone in all of this, and I really appreciate it. I'll let you know if anything big happens, but for now, I'm happy to leave the drama behind. Update 2. Hey, it's me again. Things have gotten even wilder, so here's another update. Hold on tight because this one's a doozy. A few days after my last post, my husband's sister showed up at our house unannounced. No call, no text, just showed up out of nowhere. My husband wasn't home, so it was just me. When I opened the door, there she was, crying her eyes out, mascara everywhere. Super dramatic. She begged me to let her explain. She said she didn't mean to hurt me by bringing my ex to the wedding and claimed she only did it because she felt like I was stealing her brother away from her. I was stunned. How is that even a reasonable excuse? Did she not realize that by ruining my day, she was also ruining her brother's? If she really cared about him, she wouldn't have done something so awful. I told her I wasn't buying her excuses and asked her to leave. That's when she lost it. She started yelling at me, saying I ruined her life. She blamed me for her ex-boyfriend suing her for a bunch of money she doesn't have. She also accused me of turning her brother against her and said it was my fault her family was cutting her off financially. I tried to stay calm, but she was completely out of control. I told her to leave or I'd call the police. She didn't go right away, though. She kept screaming on my porch, saying I'd regret this. I stood my ground and repeated that I'd call the police if she didn't leave. After more yelling, she finally stormed off, but not without threatening that I'd regret it. It was honestly terrifying. The next day, I found out she took her drama to Facebook. She posted this long rant calling me a manipulative gold digger who turned her brother against his family. She even claimed I was the one who invited my ex to the wedding. I mean, seriously? That part was almost funny because everyone who was there knows how ridiculous that is. Luckily, most of our friends and family didn't fall for her lies. People were calling her out in the comments, and some even messaged me privately to say they had my back. My husband and I decided not to respond publicly to her Facebook rant. We thought it was better to let her spiral on her own and not give her the attention she was clearly craving. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt to read all those lies about me. Even though I knew they weren't true, it still stung. I'm not someone who enjoys drama, and the idea of people thinking I'm some kind of manipulative villain really bothers me. It's so frustrating that she can't just take responsibility for her actions and move on instead of dragging everyone else into her mess. Meanwhile, her ex-boyfriend has been keeping us in the loop about his legal battle with her. He's suing her for a ton of money. Apparently, he had given her access to his bank account because she was struggling, and he wanted to help her out. But when he checked his statements, he found out she'd been secretly transferring his money into her own account and using it to fund fancy trips with my ex. And according to my ex, it was her idea to go on those trips. She was the one pushing to spoil him and live it up. I mean, how messed up is that? Now she's in deep financial trouble. She's been begging her ex to drop the lawsuit, but he's not backing down, and honestly, I don't blame him. Hearing about all this has been a huge wake-up call. I always knew she was manipulative, but I had no idea how far she'd go to get what she wanted. She's been lying to everyone, not just me, and now it's all coming back to bite her. It's crazy to see how much she's been hiding, but at least the truth is finally coming out. Right now, I'm feeling mixed emotions. On one hand, I'm relieved that people are finally seeing her for who she really is. On the other hand, it's draining to keep dealing with the fallout of her actions. I don't want this drama to take over my life, but she keeps pulling me back into her chaos no matter how hard I try to move on. For now, my husband and I are focusing on each other and trying to put all this behind us. It's obvious his sister has no plans to take responsibility for what she's done, so we've made the decision to cut her out of our lives completely. We've blocked her on everything, and if she shows up at our house again, we won't think twice about calling the authorities. As for her ex-boyfriend, we're doing what we can to support him. He didn't deserve to get caught up in her mess, and we're hoping his legal case gives him some closure and justice. That's where things stand for now. I'll update you if anything else happens, but honestly, I'm hoping this is the last we hear from her for a long time. Thanks again for all the support. It's meant so much during this whole nightmare. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been a while. About 7 months since my last update, and things have only gotten crazier. I'm here to finally finish the story about my sister-in-law's breakdown. Honestly, I didn't think I'd be writing another update, but so many of you have been so kind and supportive, and a few people even messaged me asking for an update. So here's what's been going on. First off, my sister-in-law's life has pretty much fallen apart. It's like all the bad stuff she did to others has come back to bite her. But way worse. Last I heard, she's lost almost everything. Just to remind you, my ex-boyfriend broke up with her right after the whole wedding mess, which makes sense since she lied to him so much. That just made things spiral even more. Now she's completely alone and, of course, blaming everyone else for her problems. She made some really terrible decisions, and now she's dealing with the fallout. As for the lawsuit, it's still going on, but it's not looking good for her at all. Her ex-boyfriend is pushing forward with his case, and she's in deep trouble. Not only did she take money from his account and spend it on another guy, but she also ran up a bunch of charges on credit cards in his name. He's suing her for the money she owes and for the emotional damage she caused. The case isn't over yet, but it's pretty clear she's going to have to face the music. She might even have to declare bankruptcy, and there's a chance she could face criminal charges. From what I've heard, her ex's lawyer is pretty sure they'll win, and it's just a matter of time before she has to pay up. There's no way out of this. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. What's even more annoying is that my sister-in-law is still trying to blame me for everything going wrong in her life. After all the chaos she's caused, she's somehow still telling everyone that I'm the one who wrecked her relationship and ruined her future. It's completely ridiculous. She hasn't taken any responsibility for her own actions. Not once. I know she's just trying to twist the story to make herself feel better about the mess she's in. But the truth is, people aren't buying it anymore. I've had friends and family reach out to me saying they've heard her lies and don't believe a word of it. Some of them even wanted me to clap back or defend myself, but honestly, I'm done with all of it. She tried to ruin my wedding in the worst way possible, and I didn't react then, so I'm not going to give her the satisfaction of a reaction now. Plus, everyone knows she's just lying for attention, so there's no point in me saying anything. Even though most people are tired of her drama, she's still trying to pull more family into it. She went to my husband's parents, begging them to take her in again, but when they said no, she accused them of abandoning her and choosing my husband over her. They've had enough of her, too. They kicked her out when she showed up at their house asking for money, and they've made it clear they won't help her anymore unless she takes responsibility for what she's done and actually tries to fix her life. If I'm being honest, part of me feels bad for her because she's clearly in a downward spiral. But at the end of the day, she made her choices. She had so many chances to make things right, but instead, she kept lying, manipulating, and blaming everyone but herself. I know I'll probably get more questions about this, but to keep it short, my husband and I have completely cut her out of our lives, and we're better off for it. The only updates we get are from other people telling us what's going on. But we've decided to stop even listening to that. We've been through enough to know that we're stronger when we focus on ourselves and not on toxic people. I'm sure my sister-in-law will keep spiraling, but that's her problem now, not ours. We've moved on and we're not looking back.